Welcome to this week's episode of the Nutrition by Karmen podcast. Thank you so much again for joining me. I have a fun episode for you all today. This is something that I think a lot of people have heard about in the health and fitness industry, and it's one of my favorite things to do, and that is to debunk a bunch of nutrition myths, because we know there is so much BS out there when it comes to nutrition. And so today I'm going to be debunking 13 crazy nutrition myths. And I put a question box out on my Instagram story a while ago, and a few of you responded. And so I've included your nutrition myth buster requests in this episode. So make sure you have a listen all the way through. And as always, you know how much daily movement and exercise means to me. So please make sure you are moving around, getting your steps in while you listen to this episode. And as well, thank you for supporting my podcast. I so appreciate if you've been listening and you are liking the episodes, to leave me a 5-star rating and review if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Or if you are watching me on YouTube, yes, these recordings are also in video format on YouTube, where you can subscribe to my channel. It's Nutrition by Karmen, and you can like the episodes. So, all right, let's just dive right in. This is fun. I'm excited to chat about this sort of stuff. All right, so the very first nutrition myth that I'm going to bust is brown rice is healthier than white rice. So no, brown rice is not healthier than white rice. So brown rice, it has less calories, it has more fiber, more protein, more calcium, and a little bit more potassium. But white rice also has less fat. It has more iron, it has more folate, more niacin and thiamine, which are important minerals. And so one is not healthier or better than the other. They are both two great options for different reasons, because they both contain really great nutrition profiles. And so I tell my nutrition clients, because some people will ask when they get their program for me, oh, you have rice listed, is that just brown rice? And I say, nope, you can have white rice if you like it. You can have wild rice, whatever one you enjoy the taste of most. I say just go for that. And if you like both of them, then incorporate both of them into your diet. This is also similar to brown pasta and white pasta. You might find a little more fiber in brown pasta, but it is not inherently better than white pasta. And so again, I just say, eat the one you enjoy the most. All right, so that is myth number 1. Number 2, losing fat and burning fat are the same thing. Okay, so these two things, even though they sound very similar, they are not the same. So when we lose fat, it means you're actually losing body fat. And that is typically what most people are wanting when they say, I want to lose weight. They are looking to lose body fat, which is your fat stores depleting. Burning fat, on the other hand, means that you're actually using fat as a fuel source during exercise. And so if you're looking at losing or burning fat, specifically from a fat loss perspective, it really does not matter if you're using your carbs or your stored fat as the fuel source during your workout. You have got to be in a calorie deficit at the end of the day in order to lose fat. So that is just the difference. So when someone says losing fat and burning fat are the same thing, it's actually not. All right, number 3, stubborn fat. So have you said before, oh, I've just got this stubborn fat that won't go away? Or you might have heard someone in your circle of friends say, I've got this stubborn body fat that I just cannot get rid of. Okay, so stubborn fat, that phrase, it does not exist. There is no such thing as stubborn fat. And so when people are talking about that stubborn fat, it is typically that last little bit of body fat that they are hoping and looking to lose. And it seems stubborn to them because it seems like it's taking so long to go. So luckily, fat, it's not stubborn. And the reason why it might seem stubborn is typically because the last few pounds people are looking to lose are often the hardest. And the reason it's the hardest is because you might be at your leanest point by then. And so the leaner you are, the more dialed you have to be with your nutrition. And especially if you've been on a fat loss journey for a while, you might just be fed up by that point and not really be keen to dial in your nutrition as much as you want to lose those last few pounds. So the reason why people say, again, that this is stubborn body fat, it's just because you have to dial in your nutrition a little bit more. The great news though, that is in your control, and you can do that if you think those last few pounds will really make a difference in your overall life. But again, if you hear someone say stubborn fat, just know that that is actually not a phrase that is scientifically proven. Okay, number 4. My genetics are the reason why I cannot lose body fat. Okay, so our genetics dictate, quite honestly, everything. So, if you ever go to see your doctor or you're in the clinic waiting room and they have you fill out a questionnaire or health form, there's always a question on there about family history of illness or disease or something like that. And so that is because genetics literally impacts everything we do. And yes, that includes fat. But I am busting the myth that genetics is the reason why you cannot lose body fat, because it is not the reason. So I know a lot of people do not want to hear this, but the success of your fat loss is determined only by about 3%, if that, 3% of your genetics. And so what that means is that the rest of your fat loss is determined by 97% dedication, hard work, and consistency. And I know you probably don't want to hear that, because a lot of people will blame their genetics as to why they cannot lose body fat. But really the issue comes down to how consistent they are being. And oftentimes they are not being as consistent as they think they are. But this is actually great news, because that 97% is such a huge chunk that is in your full control. So that means you have it in you, in the palm of your hand, to be as consistent, dedicated as you want to your nutrition, and that is what will get you those fat loss results. So if you are saying, it's because my genes are just not good, well, I hate to break it to you, it is only a tiny, tiny percentage of your genetics that has to do with your fat loss success. But I think that's a good thing, because like I said, the majority of that is totally in your control. Okay, the next myth. or question really, is it actually better to eat multiple small meals throughout the day versus 2 to 3 larger meals? Okay, I actually really like this question, and this was one I got on Instagram. So you may have heard before or somewhere online or in a magazine that eating many small meals throughout the day is better for your metabolism, and that it will speed up your metabolism and get everything going compared to having 2 or 3 larger meals, because that will slow down your metabolism. So this, my friends, this is a myth. So your metabolism is basically all the chemical processes that go on in your body day in and day out. So everything from your cells repairing, your muscles rebuilding, your heart pumping blood through your body, your digestive system working, literally everything that happens in your body equals your metabolism. And so your metabolism will not drastically improve all of a sudden if you're eating 6 small meals per day, nor will it drastically deteriorate if you eat 2 or 3 larger meals in a day. And I'm going to say this. So if your goal is fat loss, and that's sort of what I like to tie a lot of this back to, because that is really my specialty. So if your goal is fat loss, you can have 1 meal per day, you can have 2 meals per day, you can have 6 meals per day, you can have 30 small snacks a day. You have got to be in a calorie deficit in order to lose body fat. So the number of meals is really insignificant in the grand scheme of all of this. It doesn't matter how many meals you are having. What matters is how many calories you are consuming. And I personally find, from a nutrition coaching perspective, and actually for myself as well, my clients do really, really good on 2 to 3 well-balanced whole meals a day with maybe a snack thrown in there. That is what seems to work for most of my nutrition clients. I've also had some people come to me and tell me that they are always so hungry and never feel satisfied after any of the meals they have. And so I typically ask them, okay, how many meals are you having in a day? And usually the response is 4 to 6 tiny meals. And, these are people that are picking and grazing and snacking on things throughout the day. So, of course, they're never going to feel satisfied from snacking and picking at small little things instead of sitting down and having one really well-balanced meal. And so I always just say, have what works best for you. But if you are having 6 small meals a day, make sure they're really well balanced with proteins, carbs, and fats, because those are the things that will keep you feeling full and satisfied. But no, there is no benefit from having 6 small meals a day compared to having 2 or 3 larger meals in a day. All right, so myth number 6, eating fat makes you fat. Not true. So eating too many calories will make you fat. And it does not matter if those calories are coming from fat, if they're coming from carbs, if they're coming from protein, if they're coming from alcohol. If you're consuming too many calories than your body requires, then you will gain body fat. Number 7, working out first thing in the morning will burn more calories than working out in the afternoon. Again, this was another question I got on Instagram. And so imagine if you did a spin class at 9:45 in the morning, and then you did a spin class at 5:30 p.m. You are not going to burn more calories in the 9:45 class than the evening class. It's a total myth. And so really, it does not matter what time of day you're exercising. You will burn the same amount of calories, whether you're doing a spin class, you're doing a strength training class. Of course, if you're doing a more intense exercise or a more intense strength training session, you may burn more calories, but that's just because of the workout and not because of the time that you're working out. And so I always tell my clients or anyone that's just asking me when they said, when is the best time of day to work out? My answer to that is always when you can fit it in and do it regularly and consistently, and it fits and works with your schedule. That is the best time to work out. And so if you look at your schedule and you prefer to work out in the morning and that works for you, then definitely do that. Or if you are someone that loves an evening workout, then work out in the evening. It is not better in the morning, it's not worse in the afternoon. The main thing is that you just get moving. And I just want to remind you as well that we want to look at exercise, and I've said this time and time again on Instagram, we want to look at exercise as something that we do for our mental, our physical, and our emotional health, and because we love it and it makes us feel good. We don't want to be looking at exercise as something we do for a certain number of calories burned, because it just doesn't really work that way. Yes, you burn calories while you work out, but the amount of calories you burn is so insignificant compared to the benefit and the effect it has on your overall well-being. So again, work out whenever you want, whenever it works from you, and whenever you can do it consistently. And no, you will not burn more calories just because you're exercising first thing in the morning. All right. So, number 8, honey, maple syrup, and brown sugar are better options to sweeten foods with. This is a myth that people might be sad about. So honey, maple syrup, brown sugar, they are all still sources of sugar, and sugar is sugar. So your body does not know if you're having a teaspoon of honey or if you're having a teaspoon of white table sugar, because as soon as you have that in your system, your body sees, oh, that's sugar, and it will digest and absorb the white table sugar in the exact same way as it will digest and absorb that honey. And so if you are dousing your toast in honey or pouring maple syrup all over your pancakes thinking that's a healthier option because it's natural, it is not. And that is something just to look at, because those are calories that add up so fast without us really realizing it. And so I would just say use those things sparingly, because at the end of the day, when they're all broken down as sugar. Okay, so they are not necessarily better. All right, number 9. If I eat after 7 p.m., I'm going to gain fat. All right, so I used to be somebody that would stop eating around 7 or 8 p.m. because I thought as well that if I ate late into the evening, whatever I was eating would convert immediately into body fat, because typically in the evening, you're watching TV, you're munching on something, and you're not moving. Well, luckily, after some education and real life experience, I can tell you with 100% certainty that this is a myth. Yay, we can actually eat after 7 p.m. So again, most of this will tie back to fat loss. And so if your goal is to lose body fat, what matters most, again, is the number of total calories you're consuming during the day. And so if you're meeting your caloric intake by 7 p.m., and then, the evening rolls around and you get a craving for some snacks or you want to munch on something, and then you dive into the chips, and then you open up the chocolate, and then you think, oh, some rice cakes with hummus might be good. Those additional calories from snacking are what's putting you into a calorie surplus. And when you're in a calorie surplus, you will gain body fat. So again, it comes down to total calories per day. And so really what matters most is, again, how many calories are you eating? If you haven't hit your calorie goal by 7 p.m. and you've got room after that to eat some things, then absolutely go for it. But just know that it's not because you're eating after 7 p.m. that you're gaining body fat. It's because you're eating too many calories during the day. So just keep that in mind. All right, number 10, celery juice, apple cider vinegar, and cayenne pepper will help you lose fat faster. Oh man, so if this was the case, I think all of us would be having these things, don't you? If that was the simplest thing for fat loss, we would all be having celery juice, apple cider vinegar, and dousing our foods in cayenne pepper. But no, none of these items will burn body fat. And unfortunately, there are no quote unquote fat burning foods or drinks. So if any of these things are suggested to you as part of a fat loss routine, diet, fad, detox, please listen back to the very first episode I recorded of this new year. It was all about why fad diets do not work. And that is typically because when something sounds too good to be true, like celery juice will help you lose body fat, it is because it is too good to be true. And so these things are so unsustainable. I would so much rather you have actual stalks of celery in your salad or as a snack. Enjoy apple cider vinegar as part of a really good salad dressing. And you can definitely add some cayenne pepper to your meal if you like something with a bit of a kick. But just know that adding any of these things into your meals will not speed up any sort of fat loss. Okay, on to the next. So number 11, low fat options are better for you than full fat options. This is a myth. Okay, so many people will look at a box of food or whatever it is, and on the front of that package, it says low fat. And automatically we think, oh, okay, well, that's got to be better than the full fat option because there's less fat. So the issue here is that people are not reading the nutrition label in its entirety. And often products that are labeled as low fat actually are higher in sugar and sodium because they have to add something to that food product to actually make it taste good and make it palatable and make you want to buy more of it. And so the issue here is that healthy fats are so satiating, which basically means when you have healthy fats as part of your diet, they help you feel full and keep you feeling full for a long period of time. And so when you add avocado to your toast, or you're putting almond butter in your smoothie, or putting olive oil and cheese into your salad, those things are so satisfying, they're so delicious, they're gonna keep you feeling full for that long period of time. And so when fat is stripped away from our meals, choosing that low fat option can actually have sort of a backfire effect because you won't be getting that satisfied feeling from a low fat product. And, I would so much rather somebody opt for full fat, healthy fat, whole foods, like your nuts, your seeds, your oils, all of that sort of stuff, then spend money on a low-fat product that will probably keep you feeling unsatisfied. And with that, you might actually find yourself eating more later in the day because you just haven't been satisfied with that low-fat option. So no, low-fat options are not better for you than full-fat options. And I would actually encourage you to go for the full-fat item because you typically need less of those items to keep you satisfied than more of the low-fat items. So there you go. Okay, number 12. This is a good one. Clean foods versus bad foods. Okay, so first of all, I really hate both of these words when it comes to food and nutrition. So the word clean, when I think of clean, I think of my house. I think of my kitchen counter. I want it to be clean and sparkling. I don't want to be thinking about food as clean. Just like when I'm thinking about bad food. So what is a bad food? What is a clean food? So I think when people are saying they're eating clean, it means they're not eating bad. But again, is a bad food burger, French fries, chocolate, chips? You know, for me personally, I include a burger, chocolate, sometimes chips, popcorn as part of my diet every single week. So does that mean I'm eating bad foods? No, it doesn't. So I think when we label foods as good or bad or clean and bad, it just puts so much extra pressure on ourselves because if we aren't eating clean, then are we eating bad? And so if we're eating bad, do we feel bad? You know, it's just kind of this whole big lingo topic that I just really do not agree with. And I would so love to be able to take away food labels completely because this is such a tough mindset to get stuck in when we are putting these really strict labels on the foods that we're eating. So in my opinion, there are no inherently bad foods, and there is a place in your lifestyle to accommodate wonderful whole foods with single and minimal ingredients, aka the clean foods. And there's also a place in your lifestyle to accommodate the wonderfully delicious foods that make us so happy to eat, you know, like the pizza, the pasta, the burgers, the fries, the ice cream, aka the bad foods. But when balanced properly, your diet can include all of these foods. And so this is why I build my nutrition programs around fun foods, which I like to call them, and whole foods. And so, you know, next time you're eating something that's a bit more indulgent and you're thinking, oh gosh, I'm so bad, try and take that thought process out of it. You are not being bad. One indulgent meal will not set your progress back. Just like one healthy meal won't make you instantly fit or healthy. It is what you do and what you include in your lifestyle consistently over a long period of time that matters. And so, no, there are no clean foods. There are no bad foods. They're just foods. And that is kind of where I'm going to leave that one. All right. And so the very last myth I am going to bust is something called starvation mode. So I'm not sure if you've heard of this before, but there is a phrase out there called starvation mode. And people say that they're in starvation mode because they think they're gaining fat when they're hardly eating any calories. And so I am here to bust this ridiculous myth. And actually someone in the health and nutrition industry that I respect so much, his name is Jordan Syatt, And if you do not follow him on Instagram, on YouTube, I highly recommend you follow him. He is fabulous and has so much knowledge in all of things health, nutrition related. And he says it so well when busting the starvation mode myth. And he says, how many truly starving people in our world have gained body fat because they ate too little? Literally nobody. Nobody has gained fat from eating too little calories. And so usually it is the people that are following these very rigid and restrictive diets that say they're in starvation mode. And that is because they are eating so restrictively, typically during the week. And then because they can't keep up with that unsustainable diet that they're on, they have a free-for-all binge or they overeat on the weekend. And that is when they are gaining body fat because they're actually eating more calories than they think they are. And so that is sort of the long story short of the starvation mode myth, because it just does not make sense. And so really if you hear someone say, oh, I'm in starvation mode, that's why, I would so encourage that person to write down every morsel of food that they're eating, everything that they're drinking, everything that they're picking and grazing at, because my guess is that they are just not accounting for so much of the food that they're actually eating typically on the weekends or in evenings when, they've been so quote unquote good during the day. But again, their good is an unsustainable, super restrictive diet that causes them to overeat and binge. And so no, starvation mode does not exist. And so that is the 13th myth that I am going to bust for you today. And I hope that's just sort of helpful, because I know there is so much out there. You can Google really any of these things, and there will probably be an article supporting the quote unquote truth of if it's starvation mode, eating after 7 o'clock. But just know that those things are not true, and there is a science behind why all of them are not true or not real. And so I hope this was a fun episode for you to listen to today on your Monday morning, or whenever you're listening to it, if you're not listening to it the day this episode comes out. And if you want more nutrition myths for me to bust, I would love to do that, because I think it's such a fun way to break up podcast episodes, but also, it's fun to actually explain the reasons and the science behind all of these crazy myths that are out there. And so, yes, again, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review. And if you are wanting to get your health and nutrition on track, I would love to help you with that. And you can go to my website, that is www.nutritionbykarmen.com/apply. There's a form on there you can fill out really quickly, and we can get you set up with some nutrition coaching. So thank you again, and I hope you all have a really fantastic, wonderful day today. And we will catch you on the very next episode. See you.